Amidst the chaos of war, a massacre unfolds, and a once thriving community is reduced to ashes. On February 29th, 1704, English settlers in Deerfield, Massachusetts, are attacked. Conflict between the French and British in North America goes back to the earliest efforts to settle the continent. Native American groups and other European nations routinely find themselves in the middle of these disputes. A series of wars is fought between the French and British and their respective allies between 1688 and 1763. The second of these is Queen Anne's War, named for England's monarch and fought from 1702 to 1713. Exposed settlements on New England's frontier are vulnerable to raids. One of these settlements is Deerfield. A French-Canadian and Indian force of nearly 300 attacks the town just before dawn. 100 English men, women, and children are killed, and half the town is burned. More than 100 are taken captive into Canada, with some dying along the way. 60 are later ransomed, while others are adopted by Mohawk families and assimilated into the tribe. The raid is the bloodiest event of Queen Anne's War. Stay tuned, because coming up we'll learn more about this battle between Britain and France for North America, and more specifically about Queen Anne's War. Don't forget also to check out Today in History in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. There's a link in the description. Okay, so these North American wars between 1688 and 1763, that's a 75-year period, they are often referred to as the French and Indian Wars. Now, this can be a bit confusing, especially for us Americans, because the last of those wars, those French and Indian Wars, which is known worldwide as the 7 Years' War, here in North America, especially in the United States, is known as the French and Indian War. So you've got the French and Indian War that's part of the French and Indian Wars. Again, there are lots of other names for these wars and these conflicts, but that can be rather confusing for us as Americans. So yes, there's a distinction between the French and Indian War and the French and Indian Wars. Enough on that. Well, not enough on that, because guess what? There's a great Mr. Lewis video that you can click on in the description that will tell you how the last of these French and Indian Wars, the French and Indian War, got started by a 22-year-old George Washington back in 1754. Something you probably didn't know about. Good old G-Dub. All right, moving along. These French and Indian Wars end up having a major impact on the American Revolution, of course, and also on today's international borders in North America. It plays a big role in determining what the border is going to be eventually between Canada and the United States. Let's talk now a little bit more specifically about Queen Anne's War. So this is connected to a European war known as the War of the Spanish Succession. And this war in Europe is going on contemporaneously with this Queen Anne's War in North America. Now, this War of the Spanish Succession breaks out in 1701, and it follows the death of King Charles II of Spain, who is Spain's last Habsburg ruler. When he dies, there is no clear heir, okay? So then it's like, okay, who's it going to be? Well, Charles II, in his will, names Philip of Anjou as heir. Well, who is this Philip of Anjou? Besides having a cool name, a name that's so cool that my older brother came up with a nickname for my son Andrew, Philip of Anjou. He called him that for years. My brother likes to come up with nicknames. There it is. Okay, so who is Philip of Anjou? Well, he's the grandson of the Sun King, the famous King of France, Louis XIV. Which means Philip of Anjou is part of this French Bourbon dynasty. He was born at the Palace of Versailles, and his nephew becomes King Louis XV of France. So wait a minute. Does that mean that Louis XIV outlives his son and his grandson? Yes, he does. So it's Louis XIV who reigns for like 1 billion years. Okay, not 1 billion, but a lot. A long, long time. And his son and his grandson are dead before he is, and therefore the next king is his great-grandson, Louis XV. Okay, so they're all tied in there. They're all related. And it's not a big surprise that Louis XIV quite happily agrees with Charles II's will and also proclaims that his grandson is king of Spain. A lot of the rest of Europe is not very happy about this, and it leads to this War of the Spanish Succession. Philip, by the way, ends up coming out on top in all of this for the most part, and he ends up ruling Spain for more than 40 years. All right, a little bit more also about Queen Anne's War. It is the main reason that French troops are in Mobile, in modern-day Alabama, in the year 1703. Again, that's right here during this war. And while there, they start the city's Mardi Gras tradition. And you can learn more about that if you go back 2 days in time to February 27th, a video I just recently made about the history of Mardi Gras, and learn more about all of that. Again, a link in the description. Okay, a key moment in Queen Anne's War, maybe the key moment, happens in 1710 when Britain captures the very important fortress of Port Royal in French-ruled Acadia. Now, this section of Acadia is going to be ceded to the British, and it becomes the British province of Nova Scotia. So this is where Britain starts to get this foothold on the coast of what is now Canada. At the end of the war also, France ends up ceding Newfoundland and the Hudson Bay area to the British as well. And so all of this is going to dramatically change the map of North America, and it's also going to lead to future conflicts. Well, if you've liked what you've seen here today, please like and subscribe. There's another great Mr. Lewis video right here. There's another one right here, and then there's those great ones down in the description. Thanks.